Look around you. Everything you cling to, your job, your relationships, your sense of worth, is crumbling like sand in a storm. And the reason it's happening is not luck, fate, or some external enemy. It's you. You are losing your life because you refuse to confront the one thing that could save it: the brutal truth about yourself. Every lie you tell yourself, every excuse you cling to, every mask you wear to feel safe, they are killing you slowly, silently, while you pretend nothing is wrong. The life you dream of, the person you could be, they are slipping away with every moment you close your eyes to reality. This is not a gentle wake-up call. It is a hammer striking the foundation of your illusions. Face it or watch your world collapse, piece by piece. Denial is one of the most cunning forces in the human psyche, for it whispers to us in the softest tones and yet wields the harshest consequences. It is seductive because it offers the illusion of safety. It's not that bad. We murmur to ourselves in the quiet moments, "I can manage. It will all work out. It's only temporary." And in that whisper, we find a strange comfort, a fleeting reprieve from the uncomfortable realities of our lives. But what we fail to recognize is that this comfort is a lie, a gentle poison that seeps into the very foundation of our existence. Denial does not shield us. It devours what we hold most dear, piece by piece, like a fire quietly consuming a house, while we sit across the street, hoping the smoke will never reach us. Consider the person who is drowning in debt, a weight that presses down on their chest each morning. They refuse to open their statements, refuse to face the mounting numbers that symbolize their avoidance. They tell themselves that the problem will vanish if ignored, that somehow the universe will correct itself while they sit still. Days become weeks, weeks become months, and still, they hide from the truth. The letters pile up, calls go unanswered, and the quiet urgency transforms into an inevitable storm of collections, penalties, and financial collapse. What could have been addressed through action, through facing the reality of the situation with courage and strategy, becomes a wound that deepens with every passing day. The opportunity to repair, to negotiate, to reclaim control over their life slips further away, irretrievable. Denial manifests in countless forms, not only with money but with our health, our relationships, and our own self-perception. There is the individual who notices the first signs of illness, yet refuses to visit a doctor, convincing themselves it is nothing more than fatigue or stress. There is the person who feels the slow disintegration of a relationship, who senses distance growing like a canyon between them and someone they love, yet they pretend that everything is fine, that silence will resolve the tension. And there is the one who senses the creeping dissatisfaction within their own life, a sense that they are drifting away from the person they were meant to become, yet they immerse themselves in distraction and busyness, hoping the unease will dissolve into insignificance. In every case, denial offers a momentary reprieve, but carries with it the inevitability of loss. The danger of denial lies in its subtlety. It does not announce itself with dramatic gestures. It slips into our consciousness disguised as reason, as hope, as optimism. We tell ourselves, "I'll deal with it tomorrow." Yet tomorrow rarely comes as a gift. It comes as a reminder of the time we have squandered. We avoid the truth because it is painful, because confronting it requires courage, humility, and a willingness to embrace discomfort. And yet, it is precisely in that discomfort, in the confrontation with what is real and unflinching, that life begins to shift. Acknowledging the truth, however horrifying or humiliating, is an act of liberation. It is a reclaiming of agency in a world that often seems to erode it. When we open our eyes to reality, when we allow ourselves to see the problem in all its nakedness, we no longer remain its passive victim. The moment of recognition, the instant we stop hiding, carries within it the seeds of action, the power to transform despair into progress, confusion into clarity. It is only through facing the truth that we regain control over the very aspects of our lives we fear losing. Each second spent in denial is a second lost, not merely to circumstance, but to ourselves. Every postponement, every evasion, erodes the trust we hold in our own capacity to respond, to act, to survive. Denial is a slow death because it does not always annihilate immediately. It corrodes quietly, insidiously, until the consequences become unavoidable, until the house is reduced to ashes and there is nothing left to save. The choice, therefore, is stark: to continue hiding in the comforting shadows of illusion, or to step into the light of awareness, no matter how harsh, no matter how painful. For it is only in that light, facing the truth without flinching, that we reclaim not only what we have lost, but also the person we were meant to become. Refusing the truth is not a simple act of omission, it is an invitation to the very fears you hope to escape. When we avoid what is real, we nurture a silent, insidious presence within ourselves, a monster of doubt, anxiety, and apprehension. It begins as a shadow, faint and almost unnoticeable. But every moment of avoidance feeds it. Every excuse you whisper to yourself strengthens it. The mind left unchecked is a fertile ground for fear, and fear, once planted, does not remain dormant. It grows, stretching its tendrils into every corner of your consciousness until it consumes not only your peace, but your capacity to act, to love, to dream. Avoidance is not safety, it is submission. The very thing you refuse to face begins to dictate the course of your life, turning you from a conscious agent into a passive prisoner of circumstance. Consider the subtleties of human relationships. A couple may find themselves drifting apart, one partner sensing a widening chasm that neither wants to address. Resentment simmers beneath the surface, small irritations magnify, and distance grows quietly. Yet instead of confronting these truths, they cling to hope, convincing themselves that time will heal wounds that honesty could repair. Days turn into months, months into years, and suddenly they awaken to a life fractured beyond repair. What was once a manageable misalignment has become a yawning canyon of estrangement. Avoidance did not protect the relationship, it gave birth to the fear of loss, and the loss became unavoidable. This is not limited to romance. Friends ignore signs of betrayal or disregard. Children may see their parents' dissatisfaction and avoid difficult conversations, hoping the tension will resolve itself. Employees sense ethical compromises or toxic environments but stay silent, imagining that invisibility grants safety. In every case, the refusal to face reality acts as a catalyst for the very outcomes one fears. Avoidance does not suppress fear, it cultivates it, encourages it, makes it insistent, and ultimately transforms it into the architect of your suffering. Fear, like a shadow in a room, requires darkness to grow. Every lie you tell yourself, every rationalization you embrace, every step backward into an action allows the shadow to expand. Your mind becomes a landscape of hidden threats, imagined crises, and phantom dangers. What was once manageable now seems insurmountable. The fear of confrontation, fear of exposure, fear of loss, all of these are amplified by the refusal to see the world as it is. The human spirit can endure much, but it cannot endure a lifetime spent under the weight of illusions. The tension between reality and denial is corrosive, and the longer it persists, the more fragile the soul becomes. Yet fear is not absolute. It is not an unbreakable chain. There exists within every human being the capacity to confront the darkness, to shine a light into the corners we have long avoided. Facing the truth, even when it terrifies, is not weakness, it is the most courageous act one can commit. It dismantles the monster that thrives in secrecy, exposing it to awareness and, through awareness, dissolving its control. The act of seeing clearly, of acknowledging what is real, immediately diminishes the power of fear. It transforms what was once a looming, oppressive presence into a challenge that can be met, understood, and ultimately integrated. Life demands that we do not flee from the shadows within ourselves. Avoidance, though tempting, is a form of surrender. It is an act that tells fear, you are in control, and fear will not refuse such an invitation. It will expand, infiltrate, and dictate the rhythm of your thoughts, your choices, and your relationships. But the moment you pause, turn, and confront what you have long denied, a remarkable transformation occurs. The fear that seemed insurmountable is reduced to clarity. The tension that paralyzed you is replaced by direction. What was once chaos becomes a canvas upon which deliberate action can be painted. The human mind is a remarkable instrument, capable of untold resilience, insight, and transformation. But only when it is unflinching, honest, and vigilant. Avoidance feeds the monster, courage starves it. Truth, even when unbearable, liberates. Every day you delay, every instance you hide, you allow the shadows to grow. Every moment you face, however terrifying, you reclaim a piece of yourself, a fragment of power, a measure of freedom. Fear is inevitable, but it does not have to be dominant. It can be met, named, and mastered. To confront the truth is to stop fear from ruling your life, and in that confrontation lies the doorway to authenticity, connection, and profound personal transformation. We are, each of us, experts at deceiving ourselves, not in grand gestures, not in deliberate lies told to others, but in the quiet, insidious whispers we allow to pass as truth within our own minds. I'm not ready. We tell ourselves, as though readiness is a condition to be discovered rather than created. I don't deserve it. We murmur, masking fear as humility, self-doubt as prudence. These statements, so innocuous in appearance, are chains. Each one binds us incrementally to mediocrity, to the life we secretly despise but dare not abandon. We cling to these illusions because the alternative, facing our own potential, is terrifying. The truth is never gentle. It confronts us, challenges us, demands that we stand fully in the light, stripped of every protective disguise, and measure ourselves honestly against the life we claim to want. Self-deception is not merely a minor flaw, it is a saboteur of destiny. It whispers that inaction is safety, that avoidance is protection, that hesitation is wisdom. Yet each lie, no matter how small, erects walls between the self we inhabit and the self we are capable of becoming. In avoiding the truth about our capabilities, our fears, and our limitations, we condemn ourselves to an existence far smaller than the life we could lead. We watch others move forward, advance, achieve, as if propelled by a force invisible to us, and we call ourselves unlucky, unworthy, or incapable, unaware that the real obstacle has always been the stories we tell ourselves. Consider those who achieve remarkable success, not because luck favored them, but because they chose to confront the uncomfortable realities of their own minds. Research into the habits of high achievers reveals a striking pattern. Those who honestly assess their weaknesses, acknowledge their fears, and confront their inadequacies grow in ways that astonish those around them. They stumble, they fail, but each failure is examined, understood, and transformed into knowledge. They are relentless in the pursuit of self-awareness. The very act of confronting their limitations becomes a tool for exponential growth. In contrast, those who deceive themselves stagnate. They remain on the sidelines, watching opportunities pass, envying accomplishments that could have been theirs, all because the mirror of truth was too threatening to look into. Self-deception is, in its essence, a refusal to accept responsibility for the life we create or fail to create through our choices. When we tell ourselves we are not ready, we are choosing comfort over courage, safety over action. When we say we do not deserve success, we are choosing resignation over transformation. These are not harmless habits. They are anchors dragging us deeper into the waters of mediocrity, ensuring that the currents of possibility slip past us unnoticed. Every day spent hiding behind illusions is a day lost forever, an opportunity squandered, a potential unrealized. The cost of self-deception is not theoretical. It manifests in the quiet desperation of the life we lead. It appears in relationships we never pursue, in projects we abandon before they begin, in dreams we dismiss as impossible before we have tried. It shapes us into a shadow of the person we might have been, a muted reflection of our own capacity. And it is relentless because the human mind is adept at justifying avoidance, at rationalizing fear, at disguising inaction as prudence. We convince ourselves that the circumstances are wrong, the timing is off, the world is unprepared for our greatness, all the while forgetting that no external condition can create potential that is not first acknowledged and claimed within. The truth is that you are capable of more than you allow yourself to admit. The capacities that lie dormant within you, the ideas, the talents, the resilience all exist in waiting, accessible only when the chains of self-deception are broken. This requires brutal honesty, a willingness to name your fears, to catalog your weaknesses, to examine the habits and patterns that hold you back. It is uncomfortable, terrifying even, but it is the only path to liberation. Confronting your own truth is not an exercise in punishment, it is an act of empowerment. It is choosing to step into the life that is genuinely yours, rather than the life you have been quietly tolerating. Every moment spent in deception is a moment stolen from your potential. Every lie to yourself, no matter how small, limits the possibilities you could have reached. But when you acknowledge the truth of who you are, when you face your fears and weaknesses without flinching, something extraordinary happens. You gain control over your trajectory. The anchor lifts, the currents of possibility are accessible, and the life you long to lead ceases to be an abstract dream and becomes a tangible reality. Self-deception may be powerful, but the human spirit, once it meets itself honestly, is more powerful still. Refusing to face the truth is never a solitary act. It is a ripple that extends far beyond the borders of your own consciousness, touching the lives of everyone around you. Every relationship you hold dear, family, friends, lovers, is built upon an invisible framework of honesty, trust, and mutual recognition. When you hide from your own reality, when you refuse to confront the truths that define your thoughts, feelings, and actions, that framework begins to crack. It is not your mistakes alone that cause destruction. It is the unwillingness to be fully present, fully real, and fully accountable for yourself. The illusion you maintain, the facade you wear to feel safe or appear acceptable, becomes a barrier, a wall that others cannot penetrate, no matter how much they wish to connect with you. Consider the parent who refuses to see the subtle signs of distress in their child. Perhaps the child is quiet, withdrawn, or acting out in ways that signal a deeper struggle. The parent, fearful of confronting the implications, distracts themselves with work, social obligations, or the comforting thought that the child will grow out of it. In doing so, the parent preserves an illusion that all is well, that the family is safe, that the appearance of normalcy is sufficient. Yet the child feels the unacknowledged tension, senses the gap between what is true and what is assumed. Trust erodes quietly, imperceptibly, until the bond that should be nourishing begins to wither. The refusal to acknowledge reality in this moment is not harmless. It is the seed of a fracture that may take years, even decades, to reveal itself fully. The same pattern appears in friendships and intimate relationships. Friends smile through pain, conceal their struggles behind the mask of everything is fine, while internally resentment, anxiety, or sadness accumulate like an invisible storm cloud. Lovers pretend harmony while subtle betrayals, unmet needs, or simmering dissatisfaction grow unchecked. Both sides cling to the comfort of illusion rather than confront the discomfort of truth. The result is inevitable: a breakdown in communication, an emotional distance that cannot be bridged, a relationship that is sustained in form but absent in substance. People do not leave because of a single failure or mistake. They leave because they realize that what they thought they knew, what they thought was authentic, never truly existed. They leave because you refuse to show up as yourself. Illusions, though they may feel protective, are corrosive to the bonds that define human connection. They promise safety, but they deliver isolation. They mask fear, but they amplify it. The more we avoid reality, the more our relationships are built on sand, vulnerable to collapse at the first gust of truth. And when these structures crumble, the pain is not abstract, it is deeply personal. The child grows up with a sense of neglect, the friend drifts away, the lover disengages emotionally, and we are left wondering why the very people we hope to keep close have departed. The answer, often unspoken and rarely acknowledged, is that the absence of truth was always the true fault line. Truth in its rawest form is not gentle. It asks that we face discomfort, acknowledge imperfections, and accept responsibility for the reality of our lives. Yet it is also the glue that binds us to others. It allows intimacy, trust, and genuine understanding to flourish. When we communicate honestly, when we allow ourselves to be seen fully, we invite others to do the same. Relationships are no longer fragile constructs of convenience or habit. They become living, breathing exchanges of authenticity and respect. When truth is avoided, every interaction becomes a fragile dance, every word a possible misstep, and every moment of connection a potential disappointment. Illusions destroy more than relationships. They destroy potential, erode meaning, and hollow out the spaces where love and loyalty should reside. They convince us that surface appearances suffice, that avoidance is safety, that pretending is better than confronting. But this is a lie that exacts a terrible price. Every avoided conversation, every hidden feeling, every unspoken fear is a brick in the wall separating us from those we love. And the irony is cruel. In trying to protect ourselves or preserve harmony, we destroy exactly what we hope to safeguard. To live authentically is to face the uncomfortable, the inconvenient, the painful realities of both ourselves and those around us. It is not a task for the faint-hearted. It demands courage, vigilance, and humility. But it is the only path to relationships that endure, to connections that are profound, and to the kind of love and trust that cannot be shaken. Avoid the truth, and you risk not only your own authenticity, but the integrity of every bond you cherish. Face it, and you reclaim not just yourself, but the very lives intertwined with yours, giving them the gift of clarity, honesty, and presence that is the foundation of genuine human connection. Growth is never born in the soft embrace of comfort. It is not nurtured in the shadows of safety or within the gentle walls of avoidance. True transformation arrives only when we confront the reality we have been evading, the harsh, unrelenting truth that stares back at us, uncompromising and unsparing. It arrives when we can no longer look away, when we are forced to acknowledge the fractures within ourselves, the weaknesses, the mistakes, the limitations we have long denied. Pain is not our adversary. It is the teacher we have refused to see. Every ache, every disappointment, every failure is a mirror, reflecting the places where our growth is required, the truths that demand recognition. And yet, because it is uncomfortable, we instinctively recoil. We chase distraction, we justify avoidance, we plead with ourselves for the illusion of reprieve, failing to realize that the very discomfort we resist is the pathway to the life we were meant to lead. Consider the innovators, the visionaries, and the leaders whose names echo through history. Their paths were never smooth. Their failures were immense, their losses devastating, their shame and humiliation often unbearable. Yet the difference between those who rise and those who vanish is not talent alone, nor fortune, nor circumstance. It is the willingness to face truth without flinching. They confronted the magnitude of their mistakes, acknowledged the depth of their inadequacies, and examined their shortcomings with brutal honesty. They did not allow pride, fear, or ego to shield them from reality. Instead, they studied their failures, dissected their defeats, and allowed the lessons embedded in each painful experience to guide them toward adaptation, improvement, and ultimately, triumph. Those who refused the truth, who hid behind excuses, who denied reality, who cloaked themselves in comfort, disappeared quietly, their potential wasted, their vision unrealized, leaving no trace but the echo of what might have been. The human psyche is remarkably resilient, yet it thrives not in ignorance, but in the confrontation with reality. When you refuse to face the uncomfortable truths of your life, whether they are failures, fears, or limitations, you deny yourself the opportunity to evolve. Every avoidance, every rationalization, every act of self-deception is a retreat from the very soil in which growth could take root. The pain you feel is not a signal of inadequacy. It is a beacon, a guidepost pointing to the areas of your life that demand attention, that require courage, that beckon you toward transformation. To flee from it is to remain static, to remain small, to surrender the richness of what life could offer. To face it, however terrifying, is to begin the process of becoming fully alive, fully present, and fully capable. The truth that you fear most is the same truth that holds your liberation. It is the crucible in which resilience is forged, the furnace in which clarity is purified. You may fear it because it exposes your flaws, your mistakes, your vulnerabilities, but it is precisely those revelations that empower you. The illusions you cling to, the comforting lies, the excuses, the masks, cannot save you. They only prolong suffering, keeping you trapped in patterns of limitation and self-doubt. When you allow the truth to confront you, it burns away those illusions, leaving nothing but the raw material of who you truly are: your capacity, your courage, your intelligence, and your unrecognized strength. Every moment spent avoiding the truth is a moment wasted, a moment surrendered to stagnation and fear. Every instance of refusal is a brick in the wall that separates you from the life you are capable of creating. The act of facing reality, no matter how uncomfortable, is an act of reclamation. It restores the agency you have ceded to circumstance, fear, and self-deception. It reconnects you with the power inherent in choice, action, and deliberate transformation. And though the process may be painful, though it may strip away the illusions that have long shielded you, the result is extraordinary. You emerge not merely changed, but awakened. You emerge resilient, clear, and capable of seeing the path forward where before there was only uncertainty. History, personal experience, and the human spirit itself testify to one enduring truth: growth begins at the intersection of discomfort and honesty. It is not the absence of fear, failure, or pain that produces greatness, but the courage to face them, to learn from them, and to integrate the lessons they offer into the architecture of your life. Every challenge, every harsh truth, every confrontation with reality is an opportunity to step closer to your potential, to your purpose, to the person you were meant to become. The world does not wait for the timid, the cautious, or the self-deceived. It rewards those who face themselves fully, who stare into the uncomfortable mirror of truth, and who refuse to look away. In embracing this confrontation, in letting the truth burn away illusions and ignite awareness, you awaken the power to transform not only your life, but the very essence of who you are. You are losing everything because you refuse to face the truth. And it is your choice. You can continue pretending, hiding, avoiding, and watch your life crumble around you. Or you can confront reality with brutal honesty, face the pain, and reclaim everything you have been losing. The truth is merciless, but it is also your only path to freedom. It will hurt, it will terrify you, but it will never betray you. Face it, accept it, and watch as your life, your relationships, your purpose, and your very self rise from the ashes stronger, sharper, and unbreakable. The world is not waiting for you to be ready. It is waiting for you to be real.